Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano catch-up. So we look at the main news items for Cardano over the last week. I was at the Cardano Summit 2022 last weekend. Incredible experience. I'll go through that at the start and then we'll get into some of the announcements and some of the other stuff in the ecosystem. Unfortunately, some not so good stuff yesterday with projects, whether you call them failures, rug pulls. I'll give you my own comments on that as well. Give the video a like, comment, even for the algorithm, share it out. I do appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new. Let's jump into it. Okay, so I'll put timestamps down below, but we're going to start out with the Cardano Summit as well. And I thought David's tweet here, and actually even before I get into it, congratulations to David and the Cardano Summit. I'm putting on a phenomenal event and bringing so many people together. I got to talk to so many people from many different avenues, from community members who just came to see what's going on. They aren't part of a project or running stake pools or anything yet. Some of them came to see what's going on, and it really did renew my own vision as well when you hear their stories and how passionate they are. And you get on to talking to other stake pool operators as well, talking to developers, some developers already building on Cardano, some not, and just came to see what's going on and see where they could take part in it as well. Talking to projects, that one I really liked as well, getting to talk to projects face to face, building that connection so that it's very easy to keep in contact with them after that and find out where they really are, because as we've seen yesterday, sometimes what's put out publicly isn't exactly where projects are. So it's great to have them connections now, and overall things really were positive there. I also got to meet some of the IOG team and as well as that the Cardano Foundation. So I got to talk to lots of members from the Cardano Foundation. I interviewed Frederick on the first day, so early on the first day, and I now have hopefully a better understanding and a bigger appreciation for what the Cardano Foundation actually does. So I'll put that video out in the next few days. I'll probably put a few minutes onto the beginning of it because I was lucky enough to get to talk to a lot of the Cardano Foundation members throughout the 2 days and get an insight into some of the things they do. The overwhelming thing that I took from it was the passion and belief that they all have in where Cardano is going, and as well as that, they're all looking at the bigger picture. They're not looking at the shorter term gains that sometimes, I would say most times, most other foundations are looking at, and others with other foundations as well, they are the ones that are doing the majority of building, where the Cardano Foundation is different. But I'll put out Frederick's interview with my own summary thoughts and maybe do a follow-up video as well on that going forward. But just anyone who came up to speak to me, I really do appreciate it. I was very nervous going to this because I'm used to talking to the camera here, which is a lot easier than meeting people in person for someone who, like myself, who sits in an office at home and doesn't meet that many people. But it was incredible. Everybody was so welcoming, and I know I probably missed loads of people as well, but anyone who did come up and talk, I really do appreciate it. Look, sometimes YouTubers don't have the best reputation, especially in a bear market, but every single person I talked to was so positive, so happy just to be there with everything that was going on. It really did renew my own personal vision anyway for why I'm doing this and where I think we're going long term. So then on to some of the announcements that we got as well. So this one here was for Djed. So Djed is something there's been a lot of questions about for a long time, but Shahaf Bargeffen was up on stage and announced that we will have Djed in January, which is great to have another stablecoin on Cardano, because we did get the Indigo Protocol going live during the event as well. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But Djed is something people have been waiting for a long time. There's been a lot of talk about Djed. It's an algorithmic stablecoin on Cardano, and I've done a full video on it before. I will try and link that one down below for anyone who hasn't heard of it. But in January, that will be going live. And maybe at some point, I might be able to get Shahaf on to talk a bit more about it as well. So another stablecoin got announced as well by Emurgo. So Emurgo is one of the founding entities with Cardano, and sometimes people ask questions about what they do. I would say a lot of times people ask questions about what they do, but I did get to sit down with them. I got to sit down with Vineet as well to talk about Emurgo in general and talk about the stablecoin that they announced, which is going to be a fiat-backed stablecoin. So that means that for every dollar that's live in USDA is the coin, that there would be $1 sitting in the bank for it. So in the interview, I won't go through the full details here, but in the interview we talk about how it's going to work, how the auditing will work as well. One thing I really liked was if they get through the regulation. Now, they talked about February being the rough timeline for launching. Regulation side isn't 100% done yet, and these things can go on. Hopefully they do get through all of that. But if they do, basically the auditing was something I asked about, which I was happy to hear that there would be monthly audits so that you can see what's actually in their bank account, and you can map that back to the blockchain and see how many of the tokens are in circulation. Right now, there is no intent to freeze the tokens either. So again, we talk a bit more about that because referring back to USDT and USDC, which the tokens can be frozen, but if it's a native asset on Cardano, it can't. But again, I'll put that one out probably early next week. I'll try and get that interview out as well. So subscribe if you aren't, and turn on the bell notification. So then one more stablecoin as well that we now have live on Cardano is Indigo Protocol. This went live during the summit. The protocol went live and I got to talk to James at the summit as well. We done a very quick interview as well, so I'll put that one up over the next few days. I do need to do a tutorial on Indigo as well and how this all works in terms of backing the stablecoin. It's an over-collateralized stablecoin. They have built a synthetics platform. So right now you have iBTC and iUSD, and hopefully I'll actually be able to get Eric back on the channel again fairly soon to talk about his experience of going through this and of launching the protocol as well. So it's great to have a stablecoin option on Cardano now at the minute. So then on to another kind of topic or narrative that I really see coming out right now is sidechains. So stablecoins and sidechains seem to be the big two development areas that I took away from the last week, and that was at IO Scott Fest. So Charles announced Midnight, which will be a sidechain for Cardano. It's not, as you can see here, there was talk when it came out, when it was announced first, that it was a new privacy coin, but it's not a privacy coin. It's a sidechain for Cardano that allows for private transactions. So with a public blockchain like Cardano or Bitcoin or Ethereum, when someone gets your wallet address, they can track every transaction in and out and see what you're actually doing with your funds. There's lots of times where you don't want people to be able to track your transactions. Look, there are privacy coins out there like Monero, which means that everything is private. But my understanding right now of the sidechain is that you can have private transactions on it, but if you want to reveal the transactions, then you can do that as well. So hopefully I'll be able to sit down with someone fairly soon to talk a bit more about it, and I have to do my own research into it as well. But sidechains really seems to be a big narrative coming out, and we heard Charles talk about this before, where he wants to bring a lot of sidechains to Cardano, but it would still be the same stake pool operators that could run the infrastructure for them as well. So when you stake your ADA with Cardano stake pools, then what happens is you don't just earn ADA, you could also earn the tokens of the sidechains. So in this case, the token for this one would be Dust. It won't be a token that'll be out there to be sold in a pre-sale or ICO or any of that kind of stuff as far as I hear. He also, when I listened to his keynote, he talked about Cosmos, he talked about Hyperledger, that there's looking like options there as well. So I'm still going through all of that information myself as well and trying to digest everything that happened in the last week. But they're definitely the two big narratives I see right now for Cardano, is looking at sidechains and stablecoins. Stablecoins is something we've definitely needed in the Cardano DeFi sector for a while now. And there is an article here on City AM talking more about Midnight as well. I'll leave all these links down below. So one more thing from the summit then as well, I was able to attend the summit on the side, which was an event hosted by Hosky, Claynation and Bullish Dumpling. Thanks very much for letting me attend. It was a really cool venue, and I actually got to talk to a lot of really good people there as well. So anyone I met there, was great to meet you. I do appreciate all the conversations. We also got to see the release of the music video with Champ Medici, Charles and Snoop Dogg, as well as Claynation as well. So I'll leave a link to that one down below if you want to check that out. I did retweet it over on Twitter as well. Claynation is a project I will hopefully bring onto the channel at some point as well to find out what they're doing. They're building out a lot of different avenues there as well. So I'll bring them on at some point to have a chat if they are up for that. So next up we have, and this is what I was talking about, unfortunately, the narrative that's out there on so many good things happened over the last week, but then this was a tweet. I cut out the author because I didn't want it to be, oh, I was attacking different people. You see that, things turn like that on Twitter, but it turns out building a stablecoin on Cardano is not possible. And this was back to what Ardana had said. So Ardana and Orbis right now look to be dead. Their code and everything is there for other people to pick it up. My biggest problem with what has happened with Ardana and Orbis is the whole transparency messaging around this. Up to a few days ago, everything was great. Ryan has said a few times how he could launch within a few weeks if he wanted. He could launch, I think, earlier this year. They were talking about a few weeks away they could launch if they wanted, just Cardano wasn't ready then, but the last hard fork we got was meant to bring in the functionality that was really needed there. I'll go through some of this in a minute. This here as well, so Orbis was one that I really wanted to see come out as well. This was a sidechain for Cardano using ZK rollups, and they talked to it. They tried to get big funding in Catalyst a while ago, but they went for, I think it was $1 million, which was a huge amount of money for something that hadn't come to fruition yet. And if you look here, they started doing an NFT sale, and they were given these multiples. If you were part of different pools or you're part of different things, then you got multiples on the NFTs, or the 80 you put in was worth more, which I wasn't a big fan of. But if you look at the posts here by Scat Out, you can see this one here talked about more than 50% of the NFTs have minted so far. Don't let these NFTs fly out of your hands, grab them now. This was on November 22nd. And then if you look at this one here on November 23rd, hey everyone, sorry to tell you we've halted the public NFT sale. Don't worry though, we'll come back with more details. The more details was that the project was being put on hold. There's talk that it will be refunded. The NFT purchases will be refunded. I haven't seen the details on that one yet. So then we got this tweet here, hey all of, it's a little bit wrong in the wording, doesn't really matter, but unfortunately due to constrained funding on certain conditions, Orbis Labs is unable to continue building. The project has come to a halt. So there's a bit more there, but not a whole lot of information really. So there's talk that other developers could take up the mantle, but right now I'm not sure what's going to happen here. Again, Ardana was the same. Hello Ardana community. Unfortunately, due to recent developments with regards to funding and project timeline uncertainty, the Ardana project has come to a halt. So this is where a lot of people have issues in that Ardana raised $10 million for the project, and that was just over a year ago. They also sold some of their community tokens or their project development tokens probably 2 months ago as well. So I don't know where all the funding has gone to. There's definitely going to be a lot of questions around that. They did say that there is a treasury there. They really put it back the blame on Cardano, which doesn't really line up with different things they've said in the past about how close they were, that they could launch fairly soon if they wanted to. So there's a lot of questions there. There's a lot of information still to come out. Bison Coin, have to shout him out here. Actually, that's on the Indigo token, which we'll talk about in a second. But Bison Coin had some different threads on Ardana and everything that's gone on there as well, so has some good information there. If you want to go over and check some of the threads, I think I've retweeted some of the stuff on my own Twitter as well. So on Ardana and Orbis right now, we don't know what's happening. Ardana basically looks dead. I can't see the name being revived there at all. There's also some people talking about how 3 Hours Capital are part of the downfall, but to me 3 Hours Capital had invested their money early on, so no matter what they'd done with, even if they were getting their vested tokens every month and dumping them, that does not affect the development of the project. The project still had 10 million plus whatever they got from selling off their own team tokens there a while ago. So to me, that should have been more than enough to build even a version 1 of the protocol. But we'll see what comes out. Hopefully we do get more information, clarity on it. I don't think this is going to be forgotten about anytime soon. Okay, we'll close out with this one here, but I'm not even going to go down into the deep and dirty of this, because some of the comments over and back are not good to see. There's different comments made by one project founder about another project, and it's not the type of thing we want to see, because there's a lot of people out there waiting for Cardano to fail. And when you have things like Ardana, Orbis, that's what people jump onto. That's the narrative they jump onto. And then when you see things like this as well, these are what make headlines. The summary of this here is that Indigo launched, and when a project launches, generally the team starts to get some of their tokens as well. There's vesting contracts, so every team member would have been allocated a certain number of tokens, and then they receive them over 18 to 24 months. So once a month you get a small amount of your tokens. On day one, after the contract release, I think it says like 30 minutes after the tokens were released, one team member dumped all of their tokens and got 230k ADA from that. spooked the market. People in the community were panicking, wondering what's going on. Turns out that it is now an ex-team member. DC from Liquid Finance was a part of Indigo Protocol early on and just became an advisor then. Since this has happened, they've completely parted ways. And if you look at the site now, you'll see he's gone. There has been backlash on the Liquid token as well, with people fearing what might happen there with dumping of the token when team might get it there. I don't know what's going to happen with the token. I really do hope both protocols do really well, because Cardano needs projects coming out and proving that they can build, and we don't need this kind of drama. We need to see projects producing, especially when we see Ardana gone now. Liquid Finance is one that has some similarities there to Ardana, so not in terms of what happened, but in terms of the product they're trying to build. So I really do hope they come out fairly soon with their mainnet. They are live on testnet. I haven't got to check that out yet. I do need to check that out as well. Indigo will be the first one I do, because they're live on mainnet. I want to get that tutorial out. Hopefully you guys got some value from this and it wasn't too much of me ranting away. I do appreciate every single person that watches this, as well as everyone who came up to talk to me at the event. I will talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.